Last year, I produced a short film that broadly covered the topic of drag performance in Montreal. This semester, I narrowed my research topic down to the exploitation of transvestite and transsexual performers in Montreal's Mafia-owned cabarets in the 1940s and 50s. I did this to shed some light on the often romanticized history of that time.
How fabulous Montreal was. Électrique, sensationnelle, la ville de Montréal.
It was known as a wide open city.
It was alive. It was the city to be in if you like nightlife.
C'était le golden age de Montréal.
If you would arrive at the old port, you would go straight up Saint Laurent, and by the time you got to about St. Catherine Street, you were in the heart of a series of bars and speakeasies and cafes and all-night dance halls. Essentially, you could land, and in a short walk, you would find yourself sort of right in the heart of the nightlife of the city.
Montreal's red light district had thrived thanks to the Prohibition era in the United States during the 1920s and 30s. People flocked to the city for alcohol and amusement. Seeing an opportunity for profit, Montreal soon had many mafia-owned establishments that provided entertainment in the form of performances and gambling. The red light district continued to be a big source of income for the mafia into the 1940s and 50s, when drag performance also came into prominence. This led to having drag shows in mafia-owned cabarets. Many of Montreal's drag performers were homosexual or trans, which was illegal at the time, as there were no LGBTQ+ rights. In fact, it was considered illegal for there to be any appearance of a man being attracted to another man, thanks to the vague wording of Canada's gross indecency laws, which were written in 1892. A man or transsexual that wanted to go out in public dressed as a woman could and would get arrested for it. However, many drag performers did not only see dressing as a woman as a performance, they felt that they were women, and the only place they could be themselves was on stage, and the mob was more than happy to provide them with one. As performers in mafia-owned cabarets, gay and trans drag artists were protected from the police.
I remember working in one club and coming in and the manager telling us, we're closing early tonight, you know. And we were happy to get the night off, but and all the people that were in the club, they told them, everyone leave. On savait qu'il y avait quelque chose qui marchait pas. And the next morning, we heard that they found a body in the back of the club.
It is seemingly because of their perceived feeling of safety that the drag performers were coerced into doing increasingly dangerous actions, from selling diluted or phony drinks to prostitution. Both considered immoral and illegal acts, but were done in exchange for being paid and treated well. These illegal activities were allowed to flourish through bribes given to police and government officials. That is, until mob boss Harry Davis was murdered in one of his businesses in broad daylight. The assassin, Louis Berkowitz, would then speak of corruption among public servants and municipal police to journalists. There was then a public outcry for a cleanup of the city. L'Escouade de la Moralité, or Morality Squad, ran by Pacifique Plante, was given the task. Plante had mob-owned businesses raided and even invited journalists and photographers to catalog the arrests. He wanted to show the illegal activities to the public. Many illegal mob-owned establishments would eventually be shut down, thanks to Plante. But it was still said that Montreal's nightlife would continue to be run by the mob for many years to come. In spite of having less places to perform and the rise in popularity of television in the 1950s, drag still remained popular in Montreal's cabarets. Revue shows were staged well into the 1960s, many of which were still in mob-run cabarets. Drag performances are still popular in Canada to this day, with shows like Canada's Drag Race. But what about the rights of gay and trans performers? Homosexuality was finally decriminalized in Canada in 1969 with the Criminal Law Amendment Act, but it still took many years for trans people to have rights in Quebec. In fact, It wasn't until 2021 that the court case Center for Gender Advocacy versus Attorney General of Quebec struck down several discriminatory provisions regarding trans and non-binary peoples that were deemed to violate rights that are guaranteed by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and Quebec's Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms. I feel that it's important to show the true history of what happened from the 40s and 50s because there's a tendency to romanticize the past, and doing so can often deny agency to marginalized people from history.